watching the Mystical Green Beanie.
Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? I am the Mystical Green Beanie, and I have a funny story to tell you. So, yesterday I woke up and started playing Injustice 2 because I have no life. But when I started the game, I saw that it just randomly updated to the Legacy Edition. The Legendary Edition. And the reason I haven't posted any gameplay of Injustice 2 was because I just assumed that it was a dead game that nobody cared about anymore. But apparently that's not the case. Also, there was some news that came out of WonderCon that I wanted to talk about. So what we're going to do here is we're going to murder two Waynes with one gun. We're going to talk about some of the cool stuff that came from DC at WonderCon, as well as show off some gameplay and some of the new gears that came from Injustice 2, the Legendary Edition. So, first things first, we gotta bring up the fact that the No Justice event will be the direct result of what happens in Dark Knight's Metal. So, Brainiac informs the heroes of the DC Universe that whatever happened in Metal has led to the awakening of an ancient race of beings that Brainiac's homeworld and race of people called the Coluans are afraid of. And from that, there are these different Justice League teams that are formed out of both heroes and villains to take on this new threat. And from there, after that whole event, actually I don't think it's an event, I think it's a mini-series. After that mini-series wraps up, we get 3 new mainstay Justice League teams, which will be the main Justice League, a new version of the Justice League Dark, and a new third team called Justice League Odyssey, which will be a more cosmic space-based team. And all 3 teams will operate out of a new headquarters, the Hall of Justice. So first off, I really appreciate how it seems like nowadays DC is very forward-thinking, because for the longest time, even going back before the New 52, it feels like after Final Crisis, nobody knew exactly what they wanted to do, and for about 6 or 7 years, DC was just throwing stuff at the wall and trying to see what stuck. And I'm glad to see that it looks like, as of right now, they're not doing that anymore. Also, I think it's really cool how the DC Universe feels grand and epic like it used to. The best way that I can describe it is that DC is once again embracing the goofiness of their universe and building believable stories around them, which I love, but it's kind of a cycle at this point. Every 5 to 10 years, it seems, DC does exactly that, and then they get scared that people won't take them seriously, so they relaunch or reboot, and they make everything more grounded in reality. And when they realize that that doesn't work because their characters inherently are not supposed to be grounded, they go back to square one. So it's kind of funny how everything comes full circle like that. Also, they're bringing back the Hall of Justice, and there must be something in the water at DC and Warner Brothers, because for the past 5 or 6 years, DC's been really playing up the Hall of Justice in video games like Injustice and the animated movies. Chief among them is Justice League vs. Teen Titans and the New 52 continuity for the DC animated stuff. Also, some of their direct-to-video children's material, like Justice League Trapped in Time and whatnot. And even the Justice League movie ends with Bruce turning the old Wayne Manor into the Hall of Justice. So I guess we're just bringing back the Hall of Justice. Alright, so let's actually talk about these teams, which will be spinning out of No Justice. And first off, let's talk about the main Justice League because, well, that's gonna be the one that I have the least to say on. This team looks cool. It's basically just the Dwayne McDuffie team from the Justice League animated series. Well, plus Cyborg and Aquaman, which, honestly, is the team that I expected to get once I heard that Scott Snyder was going to be working on Justice League. Mostly because Scott Snyder's DC work feels a lot like pitches for the DC animated movies in the DC animated universe continuity. And I do appreciate how they're keeping Cyborg and Aquaman on the team. Aquaman, of course, because he's a founding member of the Justice League, and Cyborg because, as much as I don't like him being a founding member of the Justice League, I do like him being on the team. Plus, it would feel like a major downgrade having Cyborg going from being on the Justice League to being on the Teen Titans or being on some other team, because that just would be real bad. So that's that. But with Scott Snyder being the writer, expect for every arc to have a history lesson. Also expect for every member of the Justice League to have some dark secret in their lineage or history to bite the team in the ass, because that just seems to be Scott Snyder's thing. And you know what? As easy as it is to make fun of him for that, that's just his thing, and he's been doing pretty well with it so far. Plus, after reading Metal, I just think that he's a far better fit for Justice League, more so than a character like Batman. Also, Jim Cheung and Jorge Jimenez are going to be doing the art for this book, so I'm preparing for the inevitable delays that will plague this book because Cheung is never on time, and Jorge Jimenez is sometimes on time, but we'll see how that goes. Then there's the Justice League Dark, which will consist of Man-Bat, Swamp Thing, Zatanna, Detective Chimp, and Wonder Woman. Now, I'm sure I'm in the minority here, but I really enjoyed the New 52 Justice League Dark under Jeff Lemire's writing and Mikel Yaning's art. Then again, I'm a Jeff Lemire fanboy, so I don't know what you were expecting from me, if you were expecting anything from me. But after seeing this lineup, I think I much prefer this team to the first. Mostly because this actually feels like a Justice League team. Kinda. So Man-Bat being on this team makes some sense because for the longest time, DC has been trying to make Man-Bat less of a villain, so I can see this being what they do with him. Also, Zatanna being on the team makes a lot of sense, mostly because she was a member of the Justice League before, both the main Justice League as well as the Justice League Dark that Lemire did. As for Detective Chimp, sure, why not? He's mystical and weird. Plus, he has Excalibur with him, which is the sword of Frankenstein in the DC universe. So I'm wondering what happened to Frankenstein if that's the case. I know that Peter Tomasi has been doing a lot with that character recently in Superman, but I'm starting to wonder if Scott Snyder's going to kill him off in No Justice or something like that. As for Swamp Thing, honestly, I have no idea why he's here. Swamp Thing, I feel, just wouldn't care unless something is directly affecting the... So, we'll see how that turns out and what his motivations are and whatnot. Also, I just think it's hilarious that his current redesign makes him look like Ellen Moore. And in regards to Wonder Woman not only being a member, but the leader of this team, really excites me, because Wonder Woman is a mystical character, and I think it's extremely fitting that she would be the leader of this team, especially with her being one of DC's Trinity. Then there's the fact that the book will be written by James Tynion IV, which has me on the fence, because Tynion is very hit or miss for me. Thankfully, more hits than misses. And the art will be done by Alvaro Martinez, and the inkers and the colors will be Raul Fernandez and Brad Anderson. And I'm familiar with Raul Fernandez and Brad Anderson. They're pretty good inkers and pretty good colorists. Although I'm not all that familiar with Alvaro Martinez. So I'll see what he does. But all in all, I'm excited to see what this team brings to the table. And finally, we have the Justice League Odyssey team, which will consist of Starfire, Azrael, Jessica Cruz, Cyborg, and Darkseid. And I think Scott Snyder said it best when he called this the WTF roster, because that's exactly how I feel looking at it. I mean, Starfire and Jessica Cruz make sense because Starfire's an alien, and Jessica Cruz is a Green Lantern. But Azrael? Okay. I mean, Cyborg kinda makes sense, because what the hell else are you gonna do with him? But then there's Darkseid. Because, sure, why not put Darkseid on a Justice League team? He's only the physical manifestation of evil in the multiverse, so... yeah. Now, according to Scott Snyder at WonderCon, he said that Darkseid is gonna be a Hannibal Lecter type character, because the Justice League Odyssey will be dealing with something in connection with the Source Wall, and Yuga Khan, who is Darkseid's father, will be heavily involved in whatever's taking place. But I do think that it's interesting that Cyborg will be the team leader. I mean, it makes sense because he has had to take on that leadership role before, but him being the master strategist of the team is pretty interesting, and we'll just have to see how that all turns out. Also, Joshua Williamson will be the writer for this book, which excites me because he's been doing fantastic work on The Flash, but I also think that with this announcement, he'll be leaving that title, which does suck, but I do understand that every writer has to move on to do something new and different every so often. And as for the art, that will be done by Stefan Sejic. I'm sorry, I butcher this man's name every time I see it. but I've known him for quite a while. He's mostly done Cheesecake like Sunstone, and he's done a few commissions here and there about DC characters and their civilian lives and what they do in their downtime. And he most recently worked on Aquaman, and I thought his art was fantastic. I think he's a great artist, although he's very well known for being the anti-Alex Ross, in the sense that Alex Ross will often ignore current character designs in favor of drawing characters as he knows them and as he grew up with them, whereas Cedric will ignore current character designs in favor of his own designs. And that's somewhat evident in the way that he's drawing the Justice League for this upcoming book, especially Cyborg and Darkseid. That said, I can't wait to see how he draws cosmic landscapes. I think that's something right up his alley, and I can't wait to read this book. But yeah, that was the major announcement from DC at WonderCon. I know they also announced some new material for the Teen Titans and the Titans, but honestly, I haven't been keeping up with those books well enough to know what's going on, and we weren't given much info on them either. Plus, we got some more news as to what Sandman Universe is going to be all about, but I don't want to talk about that either because I've only read the first 3 volumes of Sandman and the solo title about Death, so I feel unqualified to even talk about anything Sandman related. But hopefully by the time Sandman Universe comes out later this year, I think in October, I will have read through Sandman and the Sandman Overture, so I'll have a better understanding of that corner of the DC Universe. But yeah, in the end, I'm excited for everything coming out of DC. I can't wait to see what happens. Also, I hope you enjoyed the gameplay for the Injustice 2 Legendary Edition. Again, took me by surprise, but it was a welcome one. Anyways, what are your thoughts on the news and the gameplay? In fact, just the news. I know my gameplay sucks ass, but let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are on this video and everything in it. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is subscribe. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. Thanks for watching, and as always, until next time, adios nachos, adios.